every now and then on a Saturday morning you get a chance to chop it up with David and Zelma. How you doing, David?
I'm doing great.
So I met David through a friend of mine, John Solider, who swore that he has invented the greatest device in the world. And I said, "Really?" He's like, "This thing is unbelievable." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "I swear to God, it's unbelievable." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." So talk a little bit about what you've done, what you've built, what you've created. Your baby.
Well, to start, my name is David Anzelmo. I'm a physical therapist, athletic trainer, and strength conditioning coach. And
And an
what we did,
inventor.
and the creator of Regen V. And essentially, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And this was 35 plus years of working with patients and operating my own private practice. And in situations where you referred to John, John is a great example of the type of people we see and the type of challenges that face me because I am a business owner and I got to make hay. And I'm in a situation where, there's hospitals that compete with me, private practices that have or are owned by orthopedic surgeons. So I have to do better, to be faster than my competition. And but more importantly, when you work with people that you want to change their situation. And many people come to me after multiple surgeries or medications or other forms of treatment, and they say, "You're the last resort. You're it. You got to fix this thing." In fact, one of the engineers that helped create this, he had multiple spine injuries, and he seriously would walk like this. He was 70 years old. He was in really good shape, and a retired engineer. And he goes, "You got to fix me." And I'm like, "Okay." And that's where we started working with him, doing stuff with him, and the device was developed in that situation, just as it has been developed with a lot of other patient situations, one where people say, "Well, this is as good as it gets, and I'm just going to have to live with this, or I'm just getting old." And going back to John, he is just turned 64, and I met him at a bench pressing competition where you meet a lot of 64-year-olds, and so just having a little fun there. And so he, and bless your heart, John. I'm gonna just kind of just pitch myself here. John kind of walks like this. He is he, well because he's tight and that's the whole thing. It just
Well, I actually
when
met John for the first time down in Dallas recently, and
yeah.
I'm like, "Buddy, you walk like I hurt."
Okay, but Chris, that's the whole thing. And remember from the movie Sixth Sense, what do the kids say? I see, dead people, and I see restricted people, tight, weak, and people that are aging and timing out far sooner than they should. And so over the years, developing this programming and seeing these changes and making changes in people with really difficult situations, it's like this cannot be. The other thing is that the medical system, and obviously there's many complaints regarding, are surgeries helpful, are medications helpful, or
Well, I
this
got
type
a
of
I got a
treatment.
friend of mine. He just had back surgery, and
Yeah.
the recovery is like 6 weeks. And he woke up this morning, and the drugs, I guess the drugs wore off because it was like 3 days ago. And he was like telling me how painful he's how much pain he's in.
Oh, and when you have back issues or knee issues, there's, the part that, well, I can't really do anything, but it really puts you in a bad mood. You're not the most favorite person to be around. And it really just changes the fabric of your existence. And there's information out saying, okay, well, back surgeries don't work, or this doesn't work, or whatever. And what we found was five main areas. And I'm just saying, if you were to ask me, "Okay, Dave, what did you learn over 35 years?" And it was essentially, we found five main areas of dysfunction that were the cause of 80 to 90% of your back and neck and knee pain and pretty much everything else. So, we just made different paradigms. We made different models. The other thing we changed in creating the device was that we made something that you could do on your own that was intuitive. It's no different than when the first smartphone came out. It took something very complicated and made it very easy to use, because a lot of times people just always think, well, medical stuff, bones and muscles, and all the other elements involved in it is complicated, and I just have to always outsource this to someone else. And that was actually one of the problems, because to really change the causes of things, I have to do it on a daily basis. That's just how the body works. If I want to run a race, or if I want to lift a lot of weight, I have to do it every day or every other day. Well, the same occurs with mobility of our system. And so with John, he's tight all over. And one of the problems we see when people go to the doctor or PT or anything, they're like, well, I got shoulder pain. Well, we're just going to focus on the shoulder. And the medical system is really based on that. It has to, it's a business. And again, I
The
mean,
drug business.
oh, oh gosh, that's a whole nother thing. And most of the time that stuff is crippling. It'll just change your whole system, and not always for the best.
No,
But
not at
but
all.
so yeah, so with
You think a
with
lot of
John,
John's challenges are because he was a big, strong, heavy lifter most of his life?
sure, and yet that isn't always the reason. I mean, it's a good reason, but then we see tons of people who have spent all their lives, like engineers or attorneys, who are at a computer or at their desk. And so there's the dynamic reasons, and then there's static reasons, because we didn't do anything, and then we suffer from those consequences. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to motion. And if we become tight, we stop moving, we become more painful, and then we're in a downward spiral. So in most situations, especially people over 50, they've stopped doing things. And when you stop doing things, you lose lung capacity, you lose bone density and strength. So it's a downward, it's just a downward spiral.
You
So
think
with
lifting small dogs is good for you?
as long as they're happy and well fed, Chris,
Oh
they've
my God.
done studies on that, so they
This
don't chew on you.
this one is
So
well fed. This one, she literally doesn't miss a meal. In fact, sometimes she'll snag somebody else's meal.
no, and these are the creatures we want, because they just reflect us.
Well,
So
this is
yeah,
Elsa. Elsa, say hi.
no, hello. Yeah, so but in John's situation, what we're doing with him, and the thing that is most challenging to him is changing the whole body structure. For instance, his hips. He has hip pain, he has back pain, but those are symptoms. He also has knee pain. But the cause of the system
Damn, I
is
didn't
what
even know John was in this much pain. I feel bad. I want to get him like a massage gift card or something.
well, there you go. And the thing is that massage therapy is helpful, muscle gun stuff is helpful, foam rolling, but it's not enough. And that's the things
What do you
that
think
I
about
also
cold
saw.
plunge as a therapy?
What's that?
What do you think about cold plunging as a therapy?
I think that there's a systemic kind of thing that how should I say, wakens your body up and challenges it. However, there are benefits to it, but I do think there are better, how should I say, options out there.
What do you think?
And
What's a better option than cold plunge?
well, my thing, this
Oh,
thing here, and so yeah, and
well, bring
and
it bring it out. Let's see what it looks like. What is that thing?
okay, should I just move this
There you go.
here?
What you got there, buddy?
All right, so essentially the part right here, which is what we call the energy device, and we're we make a differentiation between muscle guns and foam rollers and deep massage is that this is an energy therapy. So new types of therapies are coming out called like shockwave therapy. So instead of something like a muscle gun where a muscle gun hits you to create the vibration, this is an energy that goes through the system. So it bypasses the superficial sensory nerves and then it moves through the
Hey,
softer
Dave, move your
elements.
camera up a little bit. We're losing
Yeah.
part of your face. We're just seeing the mouth and the nose. There you go.
Yeah, the best parts.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh man, that's gonna be
Like
great
much farther. Yeah.
post-production.
Yeah. So anyways, so what the energy does is then it finds the parts that are the hardest and breaks those down. And some analogies, it would be like a device that breaks up kidney stones. Okay, so we have a certain frequency and a certain energy. And so in developing this, and again, everything has been driven by outcomes. If I can't get it done or be effective, then who's going to come to my office? So we had to make better tools and tools not just that made changes, but also felt good. Okay, because people come in and they're in pain, and if you can't make them feel a little bit better, oh, what's the point? Okay, because people want relief and they want progression. I mean, they'll understand if they're a little bit sore, but if you start, working with them and they're like, oh my God, that feels great, or I'm feeling like I'm moving better, then there it is, because that's how it has to work. They're coming to you and they're using their insurance or cash to make changes, and you got to make changes quickly. And the other thing too, we did a survey a long time ago and asked our patients, do you want pain with therapy or not? And you could obviously figure out what they said. So the other thing too is to change structure, you got to put a lot of energy, and there's an efficiency thing. On paper, foam rolling, muscle guns, stretching should help, but it doesn't help enough because it takes too much time, or it costs too much to continue to go to PT. In fact, in my own practice now, we're running into insurance companies that say, well, you only get 5 or 6 visits. And then we got to go through paperwork stuff again. And most of the time they're going to deny it. So as a therapist, you're like, wait a minute. I mean, I got great ideas and I have great training, but if I don't have the visits to do it, then what's the point? So that was the other thing that drove this, was just the frustration with the system. So what I did with this is make it so that you could have it at home, or have it at the gym, or have it at the factory, or whatever, and you could use it on a daily basis. And that's really where the magic happens, and that's how the body works in making change and sustaining those changes. So for instance, John has this at his home, and so he does it twice a day. He does it when he's on phone calls. He does it continuously, and that's what it takes to make changes, especially in the areas of the body that we call strongholds. And those strongholds are your gastroc cat or calf, my thigh muscle, my pelvis, my chest, and then my forearm. Those 5 areas, and that's is the whole thing of Regen V. V is vibration energy, but it's also the Roman numeral 5. So those are my 5 areas. So in a way, we've narrowed this down. We've compartmentalized the main things you got to do, because there's just so much information out there, and people say, just tell me what I got to do and keep it simple, because life is busy, and if I don't have time for it, it won't get done. So in John's situation, he is doing something every day and he's seeing a change every day. And when he's on it, it feels great. And when he's done with it, he just sees an immediate result, because that's what you see. And so, like in my practice, I have people who have joint replacements, knee, hip, shoulder, and especially with knee replacements, we got to make hay, because we got to get so much bend in the knee over so much time. And so a lot of people, they're like, oh my God, this is torture. This is so bad, because they're bending it and hurts. We use this device with them, and it just opens them up. It's easy. Then they could do it on their own. So I'm stretching them, then they're spending time stretching, and that's what makes the changes. So if I change all 5 of those areas, I'm doing a full body change, which is really what's needed, because everything we do, we use the whole system. And statically too. If I'm sitting, I'm sitting with the whole body. If I'm lifting or squatting something, I'm using the whole body. So if I just focus just on one area, I'm going to miss something. Or that's why certain things you work on aren't successful, because I didn't work on everything else. So for John, when he's changing his calf muscle, when he's changing his thigh, which is going to change his knee, hip, and back, he's going to also be changing his upper back, which is going to help his lower. It's going to help his shoulders. It's going to do everything, and that's what we need to do on a daily basis.
Dave, let's see how the product works. So show me like how you use it.
Okay, so um, essentially, if I was going to demonstrate for, I'm going to take these are attachments. I'll come back to those, but essentially, if I'm going to work my shoulder or my middle back, I hold the energy plate here. I move it up and down, and then you can see there's a little lever here. I just tighten up just a little bit, and I'm going to place my shoulder blade on here, and I'm going to hit a button back here, turn it on, and what happens is that immediately this energy is kind of like music to the nervous system. It's like when you hear
Is it
a song come in
vibrating
your
or
brain, you're like,
what's it
ah.
do? Is it doing any vibration against the skin?
Oh yeah, it is. It is whatever area I'm pressing on. It is pushing energy through that system and
So as I
breaking
see
down.
it, David, what you've done is you've built a scratching post for human beings.
Right. It's right, the bear on the scratching post.
Yeah.
And and the other thing too is that you know the
Have you
other
ever
thing I've
thought about
learned.
putting this out in the forest and see if bears come along and if they enjoy
No,
it
I
themselves?
don't like bears. I just they could be a little a little interesting for sure.
Well,
But
I'll tell you an interesting story. I was out in
yeah,
Bear Mountain with a group of couples, and we rented this big Airbnb. And one morning, I'm making some coffee, and this irritating guy and his wife were coming downstairs. And the guy annoyed me from day one. And he's like, got his phone
sure.
out, and he looks out there, and he's like, "Oh, look, there's little bears on the deck."
Oh
And
God.
I'm like, well, hey, idiot, where there's little bears, there's big bears. Leave them alone. And
Yeah.
he's like, oh, I want to get this for Instagram. So he literally opens the door, and I've got my coffee in my hand. He goes out there trying to take a video of the little bear. And sure as heck, as soon as he goes out there to take a video of the big bear, who comes up, strolling up to the deck? Mama bear. And Mama bear is huge, and she's black. So I literally go and
Wow.
I shut the patio door, and I tell the wife, I'm like, he didn't have much longer to go anyhow. You might as well trade him in. And he comes flying back inside. He's like, "Oh my God, oh my God." I'm like, "Are you just totally retarded? I mean, you're in the middle of
Yeah.
wild. Leave the bears alone."
No, no, that you'll be their breakfast or lunch for sure, and they move fast.
Well, the funny
That's
thing is, the mama bear came, and he's lucky because she was in no mood for his bullshit, but she just scooped
yeah,
up her little baby bear in her mouth and just walked off to the deck. And that up close, when you see a big black bear, you don't
yeah.
realize that is a big animal. That mama bear had to be at least 800, 900, 1,200 pounds, maybe.
Oh yeah, you just wouldn't no, it's you just walk away, move away as fast as you can. But yeah, so in regard to using this, people know their pain better than anyone else. The
So
how much.
that's how you do it on the shoulder. What if you've got to do
Yeah,
it on your hips or your lower back? Like I know a lot of people that have lower back issues that play poker.
right. And for the poker players,
Can you spin it around? Can you change it on its angle?
no, no, it is just it is static in that way. It goes up and down. But the interesting part of this is that you could maneuver your body to whatever position, and you could lean into it because it's on a little bit of an angle so I could, off this platform, lean into it. So I could constantly regulate the amount of intensity, how hard I push. So to break down connective tissue, you have to have pressure and energy. It's like that with any substance. So with this, I'm leaning into it, and if I really want to drive this home, I could put as much weight into it as I can, and that's the stuff that changes it. That's the efficiency. If I don't have energy, efficiency, and power, it doesn't change. And I tell people, if I want to break up concrete, I'm getting a jackhammer. I'm not just going to get a little hammer and just tap on the concrete. This is the jackhammer. This is the jackhammer, because connective tissue is in some ways stronger than bone, and to change the system, I have to have the right tool, and that's
So
what we saw missing in the whole situation. So in essence, when an individual has this at home, you have a professional physical therapy device, the device that I use for all these other issues, whether they're foot issues or knee. And so if I'm on the machine and I'm leaning my hip into it and I'm just pushing in and rolling, and you're going to find the tender areas, and what we call those tender areas, those are trigger points or scar tissue. But more importantly, we call it tethering, because
do
if I'm
you can
moving,
it be used on like ankles and knees? Does it go all the way down?
yeah, it goes all the way down. So I'm gonna see if I can move this down a little bit here. So I could move it all the way down, and I'm just gonna go from the bottom up. So
Like I get horrible shin splints. Does that help with horrible shin splints?
absolutely, we work with athletes who have shin splints, whether basketball players, runners, and they have told me this is the only thing that has changed that, because if I don't change the calf muscle, and again, that's one of the five. Okay, if I don't change the calf muscle, nothing else is going to change. It is the 800-pound bear in the room. Okay, and so what I would do for your shin splints, okay, is I'm going to step back. I'm going to work my calf muscle. I'm going to be able to work the outside structures and the inside. I could even do things for shin splints where the soleus attaches into the tibia, and so not only that, but we also have another device, and a lot of these things were developed just out of us working with patients and athletes. They're telling us, hey, this is what we need, and this is what works. And this thing's been developed for the last 6 or 7 years in my practice. So we have instant feedback of stuff that works or stuff that doesn't. And a lot of times
Dave,
patients,
talk a little bit about what was the thing that made you want to build this device? What made you one day decide, you know what? I'm going to invent this. I'm going to create something that's never been created before.
well, there's it just you you looked at the system and you realize, if I don't change this and if I can't change it efficiently, then it's not going to happen. And I guess, like with anyone, you see a situation where something could change, because they're telling me, well, I can no longer pick up my grandchild, or I used to love to run a lot or lift weights, and I guess I'm just getting old, and then this is how it has to be. And I'm like, man, we have to do something better. So there wasn't any equipment out there that even came close to the energy that is needed. And we had to borrow things from heavy industry as far as powerful motors, and evolve it into a device that's both, how should I say, highly powerful, but also quiet, something you could have in your home, something that is easy to use. So
So,
that's that.
so what were some of your greatest challenges in building this? Because it couldn't have been easy.
Um, well, no, because I just started looking. I kind of got this idea of the energy I needed. It was just trying to find what the source would be. So there was 2 or 3 years of just trying to find the motors, the devices, and then from there, building the machine. And so I like to build things. I used to, when I was a kid, spend hours and hours building things with Lego blocks and other things. And so I just kind of did the same thing. And so we have this company in Fort Wayne called 8020, and they make things with extruded aluminum and all these other pieces. And they say you could pretty much build anything, which people do. So I went down there and filled up the toy box and started building things, and then putting patients on there, and they'd be like, and this was the thing. I mean, most they'd get on it and they're like, oh my God, this feels good. I kept hearing the same thing. They're like, I want this for home. Okay. And they kept telling me this. I want it for home. This is fantastic. And this makes me feel great. I move better. And that was motivation. So it was one of those things where people are like, well, why do you keep doing this? And I'm like, well, people tell me they like it, and it's helping them. And so then I had to learn about how to put metal pieces together through welding, types of metal. I had to learn, wiring things and manufacturing, where to do that, how to cut metal, wood, how to
So,
the types
David,
of wood, and so.
David, I take it at this point in your life, you're able to work on cars. You're a full-blown mechanic now. You can build a Tesla.
Well, I
Are you
realized
literally the Tesla of body works?
I'm not sure if I mean I use Nikola Nikola's Tesla as far as his philosophy, and was basically, the secrets of the universe is energy, frequency, and vibration. And it just made sense. And so, you're pulling in, neurologic, bone structure, and mechanical things. And I do make a lot of analogies because I do work on cars. I like tuning cars. I like things that are fast. And so all those analogies then come into play in regard to how the body works when I make comparisons to, like, making a motor faster or making a car faster, or and so how do I make an athlete faster? And so we have all these intersections of that. In fact, how I tell people to stretch, like I say, hey, it's like, moving a frozen bolt or tapping something, those type of things, especially with guys like, oh, okay, that makes sense. How to best use the neural system. So all those things, as far as me goes, we're all part of putting this together, which was really a blessing, because you're kind of like, well, why am I interested in this? Or why do I do that? Well, a lot of that was to make something that would help people do a little bit better.
Talk to me a little bit about who are some of the success stories that you've had with other people.
Okay, so um, I have an individual who started using, well, this actually started with his mom. His mom had a knee replacement. She was having difficulty at another, PT place, and her knee would not bend, and it was just getting tighter and tighter. So she almost by accident came to my office, and we started using this, and she started seeing the result. And then we she mentioned her son. Did you hear that?
What?
We're having a bad thunderstorm here, so if I lose power,
Oh, really?
yeah, right now. I'm
Wow.
surprised you can't hear it. It's like raining like crazy. So, but so we were making progress with her, and she goes, I gotta bring my son in. And at the time he was like 38, 39, multiple car accidents, and doing a lot
So
of
don't
metal work.
ever get in the car with her son that's when he's driving. Just
No,
check that off on your list of people not to
no,
let
I
in
don't.
the
Yeah,
car.
I'll be like, want to go somewhere? I'm driving.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's
Sorry,
what it takes.
sorry, kid. I'm going to be driving this one.
Oh, no, no, 100%. And so he convinces him to come, which I'm in like the Fort Wayne area. He's all the way in Joliet, which is, just, south of Chicago. And I watch him get out of the car, and I am not kidding. This is a 38-year-old, okay? And again, this type of, Quasimodo Frankenstein-esque type walk. And he comes in, and we start working his hips, we start working his back, and he goes, "Man, this is helping." And so his mom purchased a unit, and he brought it home with him, and showing him what to do, giving him. But within 6 months, he was noticing changes, significant changes. He's also a pipe fitter and a union person who puts in conveyor belts and things like that. So he is working in a very demanding industry. And the other thing too is he has three daughters that are middle school, high school, and he was the old dad. He couldn't a lot of times go to their games or just function. And so recently, I was told that, I mean, he went to a wedding, and people like, is that so and so? Or he tells me his coworkers are almost jealous, like, what are you doing? What what are you smoking? Or that sort of thing, because they see so much of a change in him. And I tell you, I mean, people will say, what are you going to get out of this? Where's this all going? Everyone's like, you should go to Shark Tank or things like that. And when I could change something that was before impossible, or someone in a way is just kind of just giving in and saying, hey, this is as good as it gets, and to breathe life into the situation, that's my $1 million. Okay. That's the big factory. I mean, all that. That's to know that what I figured out through seeing a bunch of people in my office and other hobbies and things that I do all come together to make a difference in a person's life. That's my biggest thing. And so there's other stories too of athletes who just hit a wall, they couldn't progress, or a certain injury. I worked with a individual who runs for Notre Dame. He's a long distance runner, and just running, just having numerous calf issues and leg issues. And we're working with him, and he's seeing some changes. And he calls me and he says, hey, he's really excited. And he goes, you would not believe what happened. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe he ran really fast that day, had a really good time. And I go, what is it? And he goes, I ran without pain.
That's
And
awesome.
for yeah, and for an athlete, it's just like they're constantly their minds and their bodies are in a way inhibited from reaching their potential. And so we want to keep people in the game. And I've done athletic training, done sidelines with football players and things like that. And especially with kids and kids that are really trying to find their way through sports. And it just bothered me so much that they got sidelined by an injury or another issue. And we would have these on sidelines on football games. And the kids that had a lot of shin splints and cramps or pain, we were able to fix those things up and get them back out to play. And just the excitement in them, or just that look in their face when you say, yeah, you could get back in the game, you could do this now, or we could fix that. I mean, there's so many things, especially people with back pain, or even we deal with neurologic issues. And because your balance system is really just weighted by the system has to work with. So, I've working with someone who has Parkinson's and some other related issues. And, the friend of mine who's, this is his father, he goes, this guy's just going downhill. He's a fraction of the man. And so, yeah, we understand the neurologic issues, but we're like, what could we change? What could we change that's right in front of us? What's the lowest hanging fruit? And so we start changing up how his back moves and other structures move. And now he's walking so much better. He's independent and he's stronger. And so it's just a different way of approaching the system.
All right,
And
so
so,
Dave, I usually like to end a podcast interview with something inspirational. What would you tell
sure.
somebody watching this right now that might be going through some pain or having some challenges that would inspire them to try and fix those problems?
So what I would say is that people will confuse tightness with aging, injury with this is as good as it gets. And I'm not trying to blow smoke or say, hey, this is the miracle cure or anything like that. I mean, you got to work at it. You got to put your time into it. But I would challenge you and say, what you feel now, there's a way to change that. There's a way that you could resume and renew yourself. I think that's what the greatest things in life are is overcoming challenges. And that's my greatest motivation is getting people to move beyond them in gradual steps. And I would say, and I'm, working with this and numerous people in numerous situations that this is a game changer. And it's basically all the things that I figured out over time with thousands of people and yeah, you got to invest in it. But man, if you do this thing, you're going to run faster. You're going to be able to re-engage in the things that you enjoy and that you're passionate about because life is motion and we're here to make life better. And if I'm feeling better, guess what? I'm going to do things that are going to help other people and make their life better. And that's the really the neatest thing about this is that once people start using it, then they're like, oh yeah, I know this other guy that has these back issues or foot issues or things like that, and I'm going to change it. And the cool part is that once they start using it, they become the expert. I'm out of the picture now, and so they're changing the lives of others. So if you get a chance to get on one of these, and I'm there, and I'll show you. I'll show you immediately that things are possible with a little bit of work and time.
He's David Anzelmo. He's the Tesla of bodyworks. David, good talk, man. We'll chop it up again soon in Anaheim at the
Yeah,
Fitness Expo.
yeah. If you're in Anaheim, I'm going to be there like this with this stuff and bring me those issues. I mean, I'm ready. And I'd love to be able to make a change to make you better. And as my philosophy goes,
He's
become the best version of you.
he's the Tesla of bodyworks, David Anselmo. Good job, Dave.
Hey,